It's no secret that the entertainment industry has changed, and the stories told today just aren't the same as the ones that inspired and shaped so many generations. But the values are not lost. Comic industry vet Gabe Eltaeb has been a part of some of the most iconic stories ever told. But when mainstream interests no longer aligned with his core values, Gabe had to step out on faith and decided it was time for him to tell his own stories. Ladies and gentlemen, Icon presents Gabe Eltaeb. Alrighty, and welcome to another episode of Icon Presents. Today, I am joined by a very special guest with credits for Marvel, DC, Image, Dark Horse, Rippaverse Comics, the legendary Gabe Eltaeb, 25-year comic book vet and owner of Big Man Comics, joins us today to talk about his newest project with Dean Cain, All-American Lawman. Welcome, Gabe Eltaeb. How you doing today?
I'm doing good. Thank you, Antoine. Thank you for having me. This is going to be fun.
Oh, yeah, man.
I'm like the studio. I wasn't expecting this.
Awesome. I'm glad.
I was driving up through the neighborhood. I'm like, am I going to this guy's apartment? Or what am I doing? Is he going to be making ramen when I come in here?
Oh, man. No, we got to do it big. I know the studio's kind of placed in an interesting area.
Yeah.
But every time everybody comes in here, they're like, oh, wow, I didn't know it was in here.
Right. But it's a beautiful studio.
Awesome.
I didn't know there was like these kind of buildings around. I thought it was houses and stuff. So I'm like, am I going to this guy's apartment or what's going on?
Awesome. All right, Gabe. Well, obviously, we plan on talking about your newest project, Dean Cain, All-American Lawman. And we'll dive into that. But before we go into that, I would like to just talk to you. I want to get to know, who is Gabe Eltaeb? How did you get in with this project? Tell me about yourself, Gabe.
How did I get into the Dean Cain project specifically, or just comics, or what?
Into comics.
Well, I always liked to draw. I don't remember when I started drawing. That's just something God put in me. My first memories of drawing were Star Wars space battles in the back of my grandparents' Mexican restaurant. They had a big roll of butcher paper, the giant industrial roll. And I'd roll out the paper and just draw X-Wing fighters and TIE fighters and all that. And I wasn't in school yet, my brother, so I must have been preschool age. I must have been 3 or 4. So I've always loved to draw. I remember watching Voltron like in 1985 or 86, and I loved the way all those characters looked. And I tried to draw it, and it didn't look just like the cartoon, and I didn't understand that. I thought, well, if it looks like that, then I can do it too.
Right.
I remember taking the drawing to my mom and crying and saying, why doesn't it look like that? She's like, well, you have to practice and stuff like that. But so I always had a love drawing, so I don't know where it came from. I just say that's God puts that in some people.
Awesome.
Comics came, I was 13 years old, I believe. I was at my friend Sean Bandy's house here in San Diego. I grew up here, and he had X-Men issue 1 by Jim Lee, that iconic book, the highest selling comic of all time.
Right.
And it was the E cover, the pink cover with the beast leaping over the rock.
Yeah. I
saw that beast and the way he moved and looked, and I'd never seen anything like it.
Right. So and dynamic.
I asked Sean, I'm like, what is this? And he said, oh, it's X-Men. They relaunched it and this, that. And I'd always liked comic book characters and all that, but I never bought comics. I didn't have a lot of money when I was young.
I got you.
But I said, okay, I gotta know what this is. I gotta start buying these. I gotta have this. I gotta be Jim Lee. I gotta be his friend. I gotta work for him. I decided then, I was an 8th grader, I think. I was an 8th grader. So we went to the comic book. His mom said, I'll take you boys to the comic book store like the next day or two. So we went to Zing Comics, which is now closed, but it's a few blocks from where we are now, you know? And this is 1992, I believe, something like that. And we went to Zing Comics. I bought an issue of Aliens versus Predator, and I bought X-Men issue 4. Jim Lee's Wolverine Omega Red cover with the lightning down the middle. You've seen that one with the split face? I bought that one. And of course, sorry comic book retailers, some of you are a little rude, like the Simpsons character. I remember going up, being a kid, and asking the guy, are there more of these? When does the next one come out? He's all, that's issue 4. Issue 5 doesn't come out for blah, blah, blah weeks. And I'm like, hey,
gosh, yeah.
Never been to a comic book store
One of those guys.
Easy, buddy. Easy. And so that's when my love affair with comics started, and the decision was made in my head to do it then and there.
That's awesome.
And long story short, I practiced drawing. I went to college. I took small jobs doing this and that. I designed Halloween monsters. I did a award-winning like Calvin and Hobbes kind of strip for my college newspaper. I won the highest award in the world that you can win for writing and then drawing it, of course, for my comic strip called Higher Education when I was at the University in Northern Colorado, first place from Columbia University.
What was that about? Higher education?
Higher education was like your classic comedy team up of the straight man and the funny man. So you had a penguin.
Okay.
And you had a monkey, and they were college student, like kind of beer drinking frat boys, and they were always getting into something stupid, and so it was college related.
Gotcha.
It was the 3-panel gag strip.
I got you.
And my first love of comics, if we back up to 1986 when I'm 8 years old, was going to the library, and my mom let me get a Garfield Digest and a Mad Magazine like compilation, like a phone book, like a thick old one. And reading that Garfield, I got hooked on Garfield when I was 8. So I always loved the 3-panel strip. So when I got to college, you know, I was an art major. I wanted to do art professionally. And I remember meeting Frank Cho at the San Diego Comic-Con in 2000. I asked him, how did you get your start?
Right.
And he said, doing the comics at the University of Maryland, doing them in the school newspaper.
Okay.
So the next semester, I went back to the University of Northern Colorado, and I just walked into the Mirror, that was the UNC Mirror, the newspaper, and I said to the editor, I said, your comics suck and they're not funny. I'm better at drawing. And I showed them some of my drawings. They hired me on the spot, and all I did was win awards for the next 2 years.
That's awesome.
So that's how I started professionally, was doing the strip at my college.
That's cool, man. When I remember, that kind of makes me think of when I was a kid. And it's like, there's some things, like I wasn't that big into comics when I was a kid. Obviously I had an interest there, like every little boy basically does, because most of your characters that you enjoy or you watch come from comics. But it was like my dad wasn't spending money on comic books. All that stuff. So I got into so whenever we got like a toy that had a book in there, me and my brother would be like, oh yeah, let's read it. So I remember we had like Transformers Energon. It had a comic book that came with it, with the toys. We were like, oh man, that's awesome. We used to spend time we had a room in the house where we would just draw, just in that room. We would just draw. And we'd come up with all kinds of stories and everything. Unfortunately, we sat on way too many of those ideas. I'm going to tell you, me and my guys have an idea right now. And I have one of my guys, I handed him a manila folder that has characters and storylines and all of that a full, almost fleshed out story, a whole universe that we've created but never did anything with. And that's why I'm like, man, it saddens me sometimes. I'm like, shoot, man, we got to get back into it.
It's not too late.
And then somebody, it's not too late. And he's like, you can get into it. And one of my guys, he's a super talented artist, but he doesn't have interest in doing the story that we want to do. But he's the best artist out of all of us.
Interest in money? You can always pay him.
I know, right? But he's my cousin. So I'm like, I'm not going to pay my cousin. He's my little cousin. I know, right? We pay family. But no, it's great. But the reason why I bring that up is because so you have a long history or credit list, really, when it comes down to your credits in the professional comic book industry.
I've worked, if you've heard of it, I've worked on it.
Right.
Star Wars, Ghostbusters, Borderlands, Transformers, Batman, Superman, Justice League. Like, if you can name a pop culture icon, I've worked on. The only one I haven't worked on that I love, because in 1990, I got the graphic novels at Costco. It was called Price Club back then.
Okay.
Right when the movie came out, they offered a 4-pack or a 3-pack at Costco of Ninja Turtles.
Oh,
and the first comic book I ever made was called Dragon Clan when I was 12 or 13. Stapled together paper, you know. And me and my brother were playing toys. So we were playing with Jinx, the girl ninja from G.I. Joe.
Yeah.
We were playing with the Wampa from Star Wars. We were playing with a little man I just made him out of clay. He was King Gop.
Okay.
You know, he was like a little clay thing. And like 2 other guys. And I took those characters we were actually playing with actual toys and made a comic book and drew it and wrote the story and then kind of copied some of the images I saw in the Ninja Turtle graphic novels that I got. This is 1990, I think. So like 2 years before I got interested in Jim Lee and actually doing it, I actually made a comic called Dragon Clan. And that's the one property I've never worked on professionally. I've always worked on Ninja Turtles. But IDW, they're a local company. You know, I worked for them on a lot of other stuff. So maybe I'll ask them if I can do a pinup or something with a Ninja Turtle. I know Tom Waltz, he quit being an editor there, but he was a Ninja Turtle editor forever. I think he's now just a writer. I think he's still involved.
Do you have a story that you would tell, like you already haven't mapped
Just let me draw Raphael once and I'll leave you alone. Just let me draw the best Ninja Turtle Raphael. If anyone, Michelangelo, everyone says Michelangelo.
I got you. Yeah.
No, it's Raphael.
I got you.
You know, I don't know.
Oh man, me and my cousins, man, the Ninja Turtles were such an iconic piece of my childhood.
Right.
It is like, man, you always had your Donatello, Leonardo, and Raphael, and all of them. You're like, Man, I never forget. We used to be dancing. You put a dance routines to who was that? Vanilla Ice that did that.
Go Ninja, go Ninja, go
Yes.
Ninja. That was Ninja Turtles too.
Right, yes.
Is that the
Hey,
secret of the
it's the
ooze,
green
right?
machine gonna rock the town without being
That's
seen.
right.
Man, that was
And
great.
they had Toka
Man.
and Razor instead of Rocksteady and B.
Right.
Ugh.
Oh man. That's
What
amazing.
a time. What a time. For you youngins that weren't there, you missed it, man. It was awesome.
There's so many properties out there that I look at now and I'm like, man, even when they try to like go back and do things based off of old properties or whatever, they just don't capture it right.
You know, it's like microwaving pasta the next day from a good Italian restaurant.
It's horrible.
It was good at the restaurant.
Yeah.
It's edible the next day, but that's
Yeah.
as much as you could say.
Exactly. It's
You
like
know?
you get these, I'm gonna say it's as bad as eating, try to reheat old fries.
Oh, can't do it.
You can't do it. It's like that's the product that ends up coming
Right.
out. It's like
A
you
lot
had
of
this
times.
this gold that came out. Like you're a Ninja Turtles fan, but the newest Ninja Turtles movie was
I didn't even see it.
Yeah, it was like
It's
just
very rare to get a Top Gun Maverick.
right.
Where
Exactly.
I'm going to say this, and it's controversial. Top Gun Maverick is better than the original Top Gun.
I've heard that.
I hate
that,
saying
and
that because I love the original.
Right.
I love the original.
I've
Top
heard
Gun
that.
Maverick is amazing. You know.
It was funny. My wife was like, because she had never watched any of the Top Gun movies. She didn't even know anything
still
about
married,
it. I know, right? And I was like, I had saw bits and pieces of the first one
Right.
when I was a kid, but when the new one had came out, I was like, oh, I'm gonna go watch it. And so then I was like, hold up, we got to watch this one before we watch the
Right.
newest one. And she was like, why do I even care? And so we sat down and
Like,
watched
lady,
it.
this is the danger
I was
side.
like, look, our relationship depends on this. But she was like, she said, why do we want to watch this? And then we go in and we watch this. And she was like, oh shoot, I actually really like that.
Yeah.
And then we watched the second one and she was like, I understand why everybody loves this movie because it was pure. It was fun.
Right.
And in the story, you got in with the characters,
Right.
the character development and the story that you wanted to get into. And that so many properties that come out now, look at Star Wars, like you worked on Star Wars comics, but look at how far it's fallen.
Right.
Me and my
Well,
wife
they've
have
destroyed it, right?
Yeah.
I mean, we don't want to get
Horrible.
negative. We want to have fun here.
Yeah.
We don't need to beat it to death. But instead of honoring art and just making art with
Mm-hmm.
all of your heart and soul and really honoring that and realizing what a privilege it is to make art,
Right.
they become ideologues and
Exactly.
just bash us over the head with the Star Wars, the political scolding, and
Yes,
nobody wants
all the
it.
messages and all
Nobody
that kind of
wants
stuff.
it.
And nobody wants
We
to
just
sit down.
want fun. We don't want left wing, right. We want fun.
Exactly.
We want
Nobody
fun.
cares about the politics. Nobody
Ugh.
cares about all that extra stuff. Just write a good story. Let me believe in the characters. Give me something I can
If I want
attach
politics,
to.
I'll watch C-SPAN.
Exactly.
I'll turn it on.
Exactly. That's what
I just want
you watch.
Tom Cruise going 700 miles an hour in an
Right?
F-14 Tomcat, There's
Man.
no politics there. That's just fun. It's adventure.
That was so much like we turned on the original Star Wars trilogy. So I told her, I said, because she hadn't watched all the Star Wars movies.
Right.
So we went through and I said, okay, we're gonna watch them in order of the story, not in order of the release, right? So we go in and we're watching them. When we get past the prequels, she was like, that was rough. I was like, I got it. They're not the best. Yeah, they're not the
okay.
best. And then we go into watching the original trilogy,
Right.
and she was like, shoot, there's just a magic that
Oh, yeah.
that those have that you just don't get on those other ones. And you don't even get close to it on the newer stuff. But that's what I love about. So I'm gonna go into your indie, your books and
Right.
your independent route in a moment. But I did have one more question for you
Okay.
in regards to your past with Marvel, DC, Image, all the big names out there, right?
Right.
What would you say out of those projects? Because your name has been attached. Like when I went through, I was shocked. Your name has been attached to some of the biggest projects and all that stuff. DC Rebirth and
Everything. You heard of it, I worked on
and
it. I'm
Arkham
that.
City stuff. And I'm like, yo, I love these stories. Yeah. But as a kid, I never paid attention to, or growing up, I just didn't care who colored or did the art or anything like that for it. It was just a great book. What would you say would be most of some of the most iconic pieces that you've ever worked on, or like life-changing things that stuck out with you? Like, oh man, I got my hands on this.
From my time before an independent, I would say the three projects I worked on, there's three of them. It was Rough Riders.
Rough Riders.
Rough Riders.
Okay.
That was It was like a steampunk adventure book written by Adam Glass. He's the showrunner for Queen Latifah's Equalizer.
Oh, okay.
And all that. And he's a great writer. He's a friend of mine. I really love the guy. Real macho guy, boxer from New York City, this and that.
Cool.
I loved Rough Riders. Pat Olaf illustrated. I colored. It was Teddy Roosevelt, Jack Johnson, Annie Oakley, Harry Houdini, and one other guy. And they were a super team solving steampunk adventures, this and that.
Nice.
That was from Aftershock Comics. That's one of my favorite books I've ever worked on. Arkham City with Carlos D'Ana and the creator of the Batman, one of the creators of Batman cartoon, Paul Dini. I did the Arkham City comics. Those were amazing. And then again with Carlos D'Ana and then the great writer Brian Wood, Star Wars for Dark Horse. I think for my years in the mainstream before I went independent, those are the three that really stand out to me. Because the Star Wars we did was just like the original late 70s, early 80s movies. Same characters, same setting, same ideas, adventures, and tone. That's what it was. The 20 issues we did took place between A New Hope and Empire Strikes Back.
Okay.
It was kind of the story of finding Hoth.
Gotcha.
That was a big part of it. The rebels have to find a place to hide.
Right.
It was really fun. Carlos D'Ana is an amazing illustrator. You know the whole look of Arkham City?
Yeah.
You can thank Carlos for that. He was the concept artist for the original Arkham City game.
Nice.
So none of that look would exist without Carlos.
Nice. I love.
So he's a good guy. He lives here in town, actually.
Oh, really?
So, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, he's a Wildstorm guy like me. We all worked at Wildstorm for Jim Lee. So
Gotcha. Maybe I can get him in the studio.
I can talk to him.
Yeah,
I have his number. I can call him right now.
That'd be awesome. Hey, Carlos, great. Nah, man. I'm gonna tell you. So my favorite character is Batman.
Love him.
The world of Gotham City, I get it. Gotham City is an actual place, yes. Right. But I want to, there's just something about, first, I like my personal preference. I prefer DC Comics over Marvel in a lot of ways, just because DC Comics kind of take you out of reality, where Marvel kind of this stuff can happen in your world, right? It's in New York or whatever like that, Spider-Man swinging around or whatever. That it's it's in that world. Obviously, it can't actually happen, but you understand my point. But DC Comics, specifically Batman and the Arkham and all of that stuff, it was so I don't know. I just love the dark. I love the tone of it. That's why I even enjoyed when we had Twinkle Toes, or the sparkly vampire played in the new Batman movie.
Oh, Robert Pattinson.
Yes, Robert Pattinson. Right. I didn't care for his depiction of Batman too much. The emo Batman is not really my vibe, but I will say the world of being in Gotham and the tone, and I've watched that movie so many times, and literally I'm not necessarily paying attention to the storyline, because the story is okay, but really what sticks out to me from an editor and kind of producer standpoint, I'm listening to the sound design work and the tones and all of that, the colors and everything like that for it. So as a colorist, how would you say, you've worked on so many different projects, how do you get people to dive into that world when you're picking those colors and you're going into that?
Well, when I was first learning about color, I went to this website. I forgot what it was called, but Laura Martin, the famous colorist from Wildstorm, and then she moved on to Marvel in the early 2000s. She was my favorite colorist forever. She did everything at Wildstorm. She did Planetary, John Cassidy, and Warren Ellis, which is probably my favorite comic book. But on her website, she had some basic coloring tips. But I remember, besides the Photoshop tips of what to do, there was the mental side, and she said there were 3 points to coloring. It was mood, depth, and focus.
Okay.
You know what I mean? So what is the mood of the scene? Is it scary? Is it cheerful? Is it confusing? Use color that way. And then depth. This is paper. This is two-dimensional. We got to get depth. We got to make depth here, make this thing three-dimensional. And then focus. That's obviously the storytelling, leading the person across the page. One thing amateurs do is first they use local color. Local color is like an apple's red, a school bus is yellow, the sky's it's that's not how color works. But then the other thing amateur colorists do is they detail everything. They put a detail, and they don't see a detail they don't like. And it's and what you do when you do that is you create wallpaper. You just it's just like an explosion of there's no unity. There's no unity to the drawing. It's like Shakespeare said, brevity is the soul of wit. Okay. Right? Right. So when you simplify things, you boil them down, the audience, it can go into their brain, can process the message better. Because all creating art is patterns. People think it's a magical talent and this and that. I believe that God gives you an artistic inclination, which I guess we can call talent. But really, it's you're practicing and practicing, and you're learning to
Right.
recreate the patterns of nature. Human beings receive a dopamine hit when they recognize a pattern.
Okay.
That's why art feels good when it's executed correctly. You know what I mean? So it works the same way. Brevity is a Solar Weight is about writing. There's a great example. William Bernhardt is a New York Times best-selling like detective fiction author. All of his books on writing are amazing. And I remember I've listened to all of them a million times on audiobooks because I'm a writer too.
Right.
And one thing he says is when you're talking about getting rid of adjectives and simplifying writing, he says, don't say the blood slowly dripped. Say the blood oozed.
Oh,
You see the difference?
Yeah.
Brevity being the Solar Wit. Doug Tenapo, creator of Earthworm Jim, I colored Bigfoot Bill for him. And I was putting a little bit too much detail on this one page, and he said, let the big shape win. You get what I'm saying there?
Yeah.
So when you simplify with masterful skills, if
Right.
you know exactly how to simplify it, to boil it down and distill it, to abstract the concept, it's going to be the most pleasurable thing. I think unskilled artists, when they're younger, I know I did it myself, hide behind details.
I got you.
They don't know how to. It's actually a lot harder to draw Bugs Bunny than it is to draw some overly detailed 90s image thing.
Okay.
Because remember the 90s detail? That was hiding. That was hiding because how many lines are in Bugs Bunny? Like 13, 16?
Yeah.
You have to get them right.
Right, exactly.
The right shape, the right curve. There's no just hiding behind all this detail. So people do that when they write, they do it when they color, they do it when they draw. They're hiding behind superfluous detail.
Right.
So that's how I think about coloring is how can I do this in drawing with an economy of line, with writing an economy of words, with coloring an economy of shapes.
Yeah.
You know, less is more. The older I get and the better I get at this, the more natural it becomes to me, the less detail I put in because the things I choose are as perfect as I can get.
You got to
them.
make them matter. You
Right.
make everything
Right. You have to
decent matter.
pick, why am I doing this line? I have to justify it. Why does that line exist? It's not it's just detail for the sake of it. So that's how I approach writing, drawing, and coloring. I approach them all the same way. How do I make an economy out of this so it's digestible for the audience, you know?
Gotcha. So, that's great, man. That's great. It kind of reminded me when I was getting into video editing and getting into color grading. Kind of a similar concepts how so when I first started, I thought that color grading was kind of what's the beginning stages. Like, alrighty, you color grading. I had to learn the difference between color correction and color grading. How something can have a certain tone to it. How you can manipulate certain colors. Like even the reason why I chose these lights for this setup has to do with how that's going to look when I'm editing it and what that final look is going to be. Because I can go with a natural tone or whatever and just kind of give you that shot. But then just kind of that doesn't affect or give off the mood and the tones that you want it to have.
Right.
So when you kind of have to consider every element, I'm an audio engineer as well. When you're sitting there and I can have a guitar and I can make that guitar. When I went to school, and studied audio production, live performance audio, and a bunch of other stuff. When I went to school and I would be working on like the professor would tell me, hey, okay, you need to make this track or this song using this many instruments and all that stuff. Sometimes what I would do is you have those people in the class that would go and they'd create something that was just so abstract and whatever like that. And then all the real enjoyment of the music is just gone. It's just because they've put way too much into it. Or then you have people like, I was on this side of it where it was so, because of my background is in live audio, I've always like, okay, how is this going to sound live? So the vocal's not going to have that much auto tune and all that kind of stuff if this was performed live. So I'm not going to put that in there. Okay. But ultimately, when you think about it and you're creating a product that somebody's going to enjoy in their car or on their phones or whatever like that, your approach to that is different. So you have to find that medium that you do that. So the same thing, it sounds to me, the same thing when you're approaching your coloring. It's like in your art overall is you're sitting there looking at it, okay, I can go overly detailed and get so mixed up in all the different shades and all that kind of stuff that the images, the messaging and the mood and everything that's supposed to go into this image is completely lost.
Right.
Or I can go so plain and that the dynamics are lost. So find that middle ground where you're able to give your message to your audience or the reader or the consumer properly, but not also drive yourself crazy and kind of, because some of the times I look at things, I'm like, yeah, I can tell you worked a lot on there, but it doesn't really make a difference on there at all. You just got to keep going.
It's overworking it.
Yeah.
It is. And it's again because they don't know what to do.
Yeah.
So whenever I see overly detailed work, like in comic book illustration, that's always kind of a red flag to me. That's like, you got to practice more. You look at like an Alex Toth. Do you know who he is?
Alex Toth, I don't know.
Oh, he's an amazing comic book artist. Decades back. And he ended up doing a lot of animation design for Hanna-Barbera and all that. But he worked for Marvel and DC. If you look at Alex Toth's work, it's so simple.
Okay.
I forgot who said this. It was one of the I've studied so many books about writing too, because it's a passion of mine, writing.
Nice.
I told you I was an award-winning writer starting back in college.
Yeah.
And who said it? I can't say who said it. It's not my quote though, but he said, when you're editing your writing, take out all the parts people don't read.
Yeah.
Like you get the joke there, right?
Yeah.
Like there's no point in like over detailing things.
Yeah.
There really isn't. Boil it down. Take this idea that's like this, make your point.
Exactly.
Make your point. So that's how I approach all of it.
That's one of the things. That's one of the reasons why I loved your book. So pivoting a little bit into we met at San Diego Comic-Con last year. Yeah, last year. And that was a awesome experience meeting you, Eric July, Nerdrotics, Gary, and all these other people. You guys had that whole lineup of people there, and I was like,
fun.
let's go.
Fun.
And I tried to catch you the year before, but then
I was just walking around.
Yeah, you were just walking. I was like, dang. So I was dedicated to catch you this time.
I already paid for my booth for 2024. We'll be back.
Awesome. Let's go.
We'll be back.
And
I'm doing some other stuff too with Rippaverse, other conventions too. Can't say what, but I'll be doing some other stuff.
Okay. So when I read and I picked up Truth, Justice, and the American Way, that story felt pure to me, and I loved it.
Thank you. It was a pleasure to work on.
I was like, oh man, because like I said, I didn't grow up reading a whole lot of comics, and so a lot of times you're finding yourself jumping in right as a story's kind of been going already.
Right.
I remember my dad gave me and my brother and my cousin a box of comics that I have no idea where these came from, but he had a bunch of comics, and there were various X-Men and Spider-Man and all these bunch of Marvel comics there. But there was no full-blown story there, so you're only just getting the floppies, just pieces and pieces there. And then we're sitting there, we're so young that we're just like, hey, you want this one? You want this one? Going based off of the cover, not knowing that, hey, this story, you only have that like first portion of the story. You gave the other portion of the story away. So I was like, it is what it is. So getting in on the ground level to Truth, Justice, and the American Way, I was like, oh shoot, that's amazing. And then I enjoyed all of your work. One of the videos that I have saved on my phone is from one of your Rippaverse coloring when you did Yaira, but I believe she might have been in space. I think you did a hyperlapse one, and I'm like, I have the actual image saved on one of my phones. The work on that one, I was like, my gosh, this is on another level. Like, so when I say I am truly excited to have you in here, I am truly excited to have you in here because I've enjoyed so much of your work and just watching you come up. So I would like to know, you have your project, the All-American,
Dean Cain, All-American Lawman.
All-American Lawman.
Yeah.
Looking forward to checking that project out.
Almost done. We're up to page 90. It's 114 pages. So,
okay, awesome.
So
what would you say?
Today is what, January 11th or something like that, or 12th? Okay. So we'll be on time.
Okay, awesome.
God willing.
Awesome. Looking forward to checking that out. Can you give me a quick elevator pitch on that story?
Okay, well, Dean became my friend when he saw me. I parted ways with DC Comics. It was a bit controversial. I don't want to go too deep into it, but basically, for my morals and ethics and all that, I could no longer work for Warner Brothers. We'll leave it there.
Understand.
I go on and do this, but it's huge. It makes global news for 3 days.
Yeah, I remember that.
I was getting I got phone calls from European news people. They wanted to interview me. I was on Fox.
Yeah.
Newsmax. I was everywhere. Breitbart, everywhere, because I controversially left Superman. We'll put it that way.
Yes.
I was just on OAN Network on Tuesday. I'll be on
awesome.
Newsmax on Tuesday next week. I do a lot of interviews talking about the culture war, for lack of a better term.
Right.
And I thought, you know what? I'm not going to use my talents. I told you about being a little boy drawing in the tortilla factory, Mexican restaurant, to make stuff that I disagree with ethically and morally.
Right.
I'm going to do stuff I believe in. Stuff like that 1977 Star Wars that a 5-year-old me can enjoy or a 50-year-old person can enjoy. It's sophisticated enough fully for an adult but it's clean and kids can like it and also understand it too. So in mine, there's no sex, there's no gore, there's no swearing, but we fully thrill you and entertain you. I mean, the world almost ends in this book.
Right,
you know?
exactly.
We almost
One of the
get into a
biggest
nuclear war in that book. So.
I love, what is your big buff character? What is his name?
The bad guy or the good guy?
The good guy.
The good guy's American Way.
American Way.
Right.
So when he's talking to his parents.
That's the heart of the book. That's page 47.
I'm sitting there and I'm like, yo, man.
I love that
I'm sitting
page.
there and I'm like, man, that's hitting me here.
A lot of people told me
like,
that
shoot.
page is like had him on the edge. You know, like it was like at the end of Top Gun Maverick. Maverick tells Rooster, he's all, thank you for saving my life. And Rooster tells him, it's what my father would have done.
Yeah.
And you're in the movie theater like, I don't cry at the movies. I don't cry. You know, and that's, I have that moment in here when he's talking to his dad in the backyard and he has that, they call it in screenwriting, the dark night of the soul.
Okay.
It's a moment when all is lost. The hero thinks he has a victory and then like everything goes wrong.
Yeah.
And the world's going to end. He's going to lose everything. He's going to die. He's going to lose. And you kind of don't know what to do.
And those are effective.
And then they dig deep and they use the force loop.
Right.
And that isn't left wing or right wing. That's human. And that's what I want to do with this stuff.
Yes.
I think to me, I coached football forever. I played it forever. Rancho Bernardo High School.
Okay.
CIF champions, 94, 96.
Let's go.
And then I coached it forever. I coached my son. And he played La Jolla Country Day. CIF champions, 15 and 17. You know, he wore my number, played my position and everything.
That's awesome.
And what I love about football, what it does for young men, is it teaches you could be more than you ever thought you could be. Because you get hit in the face and you don't die. You get back up.
Yeah.
You're like, oh, okay, I can take punishment and I can deal it out.
Yeah.
And I can be brave when I'm scared. I love the Game of Thrones novels. The TV show is very dirty. There's a lot of superfluous sex in that. The novels are great. They're fun.
Yeah.
And there's a scene, a little boy's talking to his dad. I don't remember which character. I read this years ago. And the bad guys are coming to kill him or whatever. He said, aren't you scared, Dad? He says, you can only be brave when you are scared. And I want people to understand that life can be hard and demoralizing and just brutal.
Yeah.
And you can still be standing. And even though you feel terrible, you can still choose the right thing.
Yeah.
And that's why stories are so important. When I had to leave Warner Brothers, the prolific career I had in mainstream comics, which you've said, hundreds and hundreds of amazing things I worked on, I didn't have another job lined up. I didn't have millions of dollars in the bank. But I said to myself, I can't do what they're asking me to do. It's immoral to me.
Gotcha.
And the image that kept popping in my head was the 1989 Indiana Jones.
Okay.
Where he has to step onto that invisible rock bridge to save his father to get the cup of Christ.
Yeah.
It's called the leap of faith, and he has to trust God.
Yeah.
And I pictured my own life that way. It's like, I have to do something terrifying, quit a 6-figure income here. And I make a lot more money now, thank God. But I made a ton of money doing that.
Yeah.
And I had to walk away from it. I got a wife, I got kids, I got a mortgage in San Diego, which was just announced the most expensive city in America like 2-3 months ago. And I just had to take that leap of faith. So first, glory to God on that. And then second, that's the power of movies and comics and books. That a movie I saw when I was 10 years old could inspire me.
Yep.
So, you know, Indiana Jones was scared, but it was important, so he did it. So I think to myself, well, I'm scared to leave DC Comics, but it's important and I need to do it. So I did it.
And you did what a lot of people wouldn't do. Because not a lot of people would take that, because they'll look at the 6-figure income, the security, and they'll compromise their morals and their values and everything just for that security and say, you know what, I disagree with this, but I'm going to keep doing this. Or, you know, try to stifle yourself. But to do that, that holds truer than anything else. And that comes across in your work too.
I mean what I'm doing here. This means something to me. This is not a screw around for me. This is, I think about dying, and not in a scary way, but I have children, they're adults, and I have a granddaughter now. She's a year old.
Congratulations.
Thank you. It was the light of my life. And when you look at your kids and all that, you realize how important your life is for them, and then your grandkids, and then so on and so on and so on. And my main philosophy in life that I'm keenly aware of is that I am right now this part of my family's name, this time, this place.
Right.
But I realize for, who knows, thousands, perhaps millions, no one really knows, there were people before me of my blood and my DNA that, if you read a history book, they mostly just suffered. They didn't have air conditioning. They didn't have refrigeration or cars. They had a lot of warlords and diseases and death and dangerous animals. These people could die catching a cold. They didn't have what we have. And we only have what we have because of them.
So you learn
and
to
God.
appreciate it.
Why? I look at it this way. This is how I really believe it. They loved me and they didn't even know me. Because talk is cheap. You don't love someone if you don't do it.
Right.
Faith without works is dead,
dead,
the Bible says.
Exactly.
You don't believe something if you don't act on it.
Right.
So my ancestors apparently loved me. I can never pay them back. They're gone.
Yeah.
So all I see now is I pay them back by paying it forward.
Yeah.
I build tomorrow for the Gabe 500 years from now.
Right.
That I kept the fire alive. Right now it's in my hands and I'll pass it forward.
Yeah.
It was passed to me. I have no right to be a scumbag. I'm not perfect. I'm a sinner. I've done and do and will continue to do bad things. And it's God's grace I pray for.
Yeah.
Not better than you. I'm not saying that. But I'm aware of what has been given to me here and how this experiment, America, is a miracle. This is the first and only time something like this has happened on Earth, a society.
Right,
like
exactly.
this. So when DC Comics insulted me, my World War II veteran grandfather, my immigrant from Libya father, who escaped Gaddafi's socialist hellhole, by saying, truth, justice, and the American way is a dumb slogan.
Yeah.
You know, we're just forget that. To me, that was unacceptable.
Yeah.
And, you know, I drew and made and sell this shirt on my website. And it's not Superman, but it's a guy ripping open an American flag. And it says American and proud of it. And then in Latin, it says truth, justice, and the American way.
I love it.
And there's no coincidence why the book is called that.
Right.
You know, because this is a miracle what we're living in.
Yeah, it is.
And you have to pay respect to the people that gave it. Is America perfect? No.
No.
But nothing is.
Exactly.
You know?
That's
but
what
it's
it is.
Great.
Exactly.
And we live in San Diego, you and I. We're here right now. How's the border look? Are people trying to get in here?
Woo, people are breaking down. What border?
Right. But people are trying to get in, right?
Yes.
Because it's awesome.
Exactly.
So, you know.
So you can try to destroy it as much as you want, but why do we have immigrants flooding in?
So I'll close my thing here on my philosophy on art this way. My daughter's a stand-up comedian, a fantastic one. She's going to be 27, but she's been on stage in Hollywood and here at the Comedy Store since she was 15 or 16.
Oh, cool.
She's a great stand-up. She's very funny. She's won 3 roast battles in a row at the Comedy Store. She's going to do another one like in a week in Hollywood. And I told her about her art, comedy. I told her art is holy.
Yeah.
It's a gift from God and we need to be humble. I'm not better than you because I'm better at drawing or better at writing than you. I am better than most people at drawing and coloring and writing. Right. But I'm not a better human being and God doesn't love me more because I don't look down you may kiss my ring. I don't, no. No. That's not how I was raised. My grandfather was blue collar, Mexican guy, tortilla factory, like getting his hands dirty. I worked there. My father's it's my mom's dad, Mexican guy. The Arab side, my dad's he's been a gourmet chef for 50 years, hardworking blue collar guy. And they taught me that there's honor and dignity in all work, whether you're a janitor or a scientist, a teacher, the garbage man. So one thing that turns me off about so many artists is they look down at the fans and the customers and all that. We know how to draw, so we're magical men or something.
Yeah, or you want to.
It sounds to me like you're kind of a nerd that was drawing too much in middle school.
Exactly.
Get over yourself.
Yeah, you see it way too often now where people they get to these levels and then they want to look down on people, whatever like that, or like you enjoyed that, or like why would you enjoy that, or whatever like that, because they don't, or because they have an issue or whatever like that. You're like, you know what? It's for the fans, it's for the consumer, and that's who matters.
Right.
That's what you want to get
We're nothing
into.
without our customers.
Exactly.
Nothing. We're just, if people didn't buy these things and go to Big Man Comics and buy everything now.
Yes, definitely.
Please do that. Then I'm just the kid in middle school drawing for free.
Yeah.
And I got a mortgage to pay.
Yeah, exactly.
So, but what you see is what you get with me. I try to be honest and very sincere in my work.
I appreciate that. So. And it comes across.
Thank you.
And I'm looking forward to checking out, what is it called? Dean Cain,
All-American Lawman.
All-American Lawman. And I love the trailer and everything. Matter of fact, we're going to run the trailer right now just for everybody else to see. And take a quick break. We'll check back in with you in just a moment.
Action fans, Dean Cain, All-American Lawman. The ultimate graphic novel is almost here. We've got letters through page 70, colors through page 80, and inks through page 86. We're going to get this thing off to the printer mid-February, and we're going to get it in your hands as promised, starting shipping at the end of winter. So look for this thing at the end of March in your mailbox. If you haven't ordered it yet, go to bigmancomics.com and place your order for Dean Cain, All-American Lawman, the ultimate action graphic novel. If you're a fan of 80s and 90s action movies, you're going to love this. If you love the old Indiana Jones, Lethal Weapon, and of course stuff like Romancing the Stone with a gorgeous leading lady and an amazing wisecracking leading man fighting the worst villains ever, this is the book for you. Dean, Cain, and myself thank you all who have backed it, and thank you all who are considering backing it, and please go do that today. Dean Cain, All-American Lawman, we poured our heart and souls into this. When you support us, you're making great things happen. Thank you very much.
Alrighty, and welcome back. Alrighty, so Dean Cain, All-American Lawman.
Yes.
Man, that looks good.
The thrill ride of the year.
Yes. So,
of the decade. Of the century, maybe, perhaps.
Let's do it. Let's do it. All right, so how did you get in touch with Dean? How did that project come to be?
He saw the whole drama with me and DC Comics on Twitter.
Okay.
And followed me.
Oh, nice.
So I'm like, oh, wow, Dean followed me. So I messaged him and said, hey, man, what's up? He's like, we need to talk. Gave me his number. I called him. I said, well, what can I do for you, Mr. Cain? He's like, no, what can I do for you? Oh. So I want to support what you're doing. I want to promote your comic. Like, let's talk. So we talked on the phone for like an hour just about life and families and our philosophy. And, obviously he was Superman and all that. Right. So this is very near and dear to his heart. One of the artists on Superman walking away from that job. It's funny to me. Some of the cancel pigs. Yeah. Oh, you got fired. And it drives them crazy that I didn't get fired. Yeah. I literally had two contracts in front of me to sign. Yeah. Legion of Superheroes versus Justice League, I think. Okay. And then continuing on Superman. Wow. I turned down the contracts and resigned. Yeah. I literally did. I mean, I have the emails where I resigned. And so Dean really liked me standing on principle there. Yeah. And so we just became fast friends. But I told you I played and coached football. Yeah. See, I'm not a typical comic book guy. Like, I hate to pick on comic book guy, but I'm not a dork. Right. I lift weights. Yeah. I know how to talk to girls and women. Like, I'm not a dork. I'm actually a macho, normal dude. Yeah. And I just happen to like to draw. Yeah. So that's my thing. So I'm very simpatico with Dean and Eric July. Eric July is a Division I athlete running track. Right. Dean Cain is an NCAA record holder from Princeton. Most interceptions in a season, I think. Still standing from like 84, 85. His record still stands.
That's awesome.
I think highest interception average per season or something like that. And he was on the Buffalo Bills for a year. Blew his knee up or whatever. Didn't last in the NFL. Yeah. But he made it. Like, holy cow, that's a big deal to make it to the NFL.
Exactly.
So I say all that to say Dean, Eric, and I, we're like manly men. We're guys. We're not like little whiny, weird, I just don't have patience for those kind of guys. I got we hit it off personality-wise that we're very similar that way. Right. And we're both very, very, very dedicated fathers. That was another thing. And we're both Christians and we're both very patriotic. So we have a lot of things in common. Right. And so we became friends, like really good friends. He was at my wife's birthday. Cool. He came out to Comic-Con and to do some stuff with me and do an event. And, nice. And, we're friends. We actually became friends besides partners in this business stuff. So when I was in the final stages of drawing this book, I was like, well, what am I going to do next? And I thought, well, Dean's helped me promote this, and he likes all this stuff. And I said, what if I did a book that was like Top Gun, like Indiana Jones, the good old ones, not the new woke one, like the classic 80s and 90s action that I loved. Well, Dean loves all that stuff, so I just called him. Yeah. And it's funny, he said to me, you ever see Romancing the Stone? That's Kirk Douglas and what was her name? I don't know. I forget her name. But it's a favorite of mine from my childhood. Okay. It's like Indiana Jones. It came out in like 1984. Check out Romancing the Stone. Romancing the Stone. Yeah, he said, you ever see Romancing the Stone? I said, I saw it a million times as a kid. I love it. So let's do one like that. So Dean Cain, All-American Lawman, is he former Special Forces, CIA, FBI? We don't really know, but he's a butt kicker. Okay. And he gets into adventures and stuff like that. And in this one, he's going up against the most powerful Chinese-run cartel south of the border to help save his sister, but also help save the world. Nice. There's A-10 Thunderbolts. There's bad guys. There's, Asian martial arts masters. There's dangerous cartel guys. There's all kinds of CIA spying. It's insane. And it's, you said the quality writing in this was excellent. Yes. I stepped my game up for Dean Cain even more. And remember, Dean Cain is a writer, too. He wrote some of the best episodes of the Superman TV show. Okay. And he loved the script that I wrote. Gotcha. He helped develop the character. He sent me who Chris Tanaka. That's the main character.
Okay.
So it's kind of like a movie as a comic book.
Gotcha.
Dean Cain is playing this character in the
Gotcha.
comic, basically,
Yeah.
even though he's not playing.
I
'cause it's
just
comic.
I just figured that out because I saw it said Dean Cain, All-American Lawman, and I was like, is it Dean Cain's All-American Lawman? But I was like, no,
We put his
that's
name on it 'cause
basically
it's-
Dean Cain.
We could call it Chris Tanaka, All-American Lawman, but
Yeah.
people would be like, who is that?
Yeah, exactly.
You know what I mean?
Nah.
So we used his name because his name is a brand name.
Right, of course.
But the character in the book is Chris Tanaka,
Mhm.
and Tanaka is Dean's biological father's last name.
Ah,
Dean is
okay,
a quarter
gotcha.
Japanese. And then he was adopted by the movie director Christopher Cain when he was like 3 or 4 years old. Dean was adopted.
Okay, gotcha.
So, and Christopher Cain's a great guy. He just turned 80 years old.
Mm-hmm.
And so to honor his dad, Christopher Cain, and to honor his biological dad, Mr. Tanaka,
Okay,
I
put
said,
that-
what if we name the character Chris Tanaka?
Nice.
So that's an homage to.
Okay, gotcha.
And Dean's son is also named Chris. You know what I
Okay.
mean? So there's a lot of family honor
Yeah.
there. But it's a great story. It's got a big father-son arc in it.
Mm-hmm.
It's got that male brotherhood of some of the special ops secret guys Dean works with.
Yeah.
It's got this real spunky, the female lead.
Mhm.
She's the girlfriend of the cartel boss that Dean's going after, the ex-girlfriend. She hates the cartel boss.
Okay.
And they have a little bit of romance. We keep it clean, though. Any age can read this stuff.
Okay.
But they have that dynamic, that sexual tension.
Mhm.
You know, she's that whole thing with Princess Leia and Han Solo that they have.
Yeah.
Or that
Dude, I
Indiana
love
Jones
it.
and Marion have, where she's
Yeah, I
kind
love
of,
it.
yeah, you idiot, I thought you said you could fly this thing,
Yeah.
or whatever, you know, like that.
Mhm.
And there's a line I wrote in there where there's a helicopter thing and they're going to crash, and she's
Yeah.
like, if we die, I'm going to kill you. You know, I love writing stuff like that.
I love it.
But, you know, she likes him, he likes her, but then
Yeah.
they kind of fight, and it's
Yeah.
really fun. The bad guys are bad and stuff like that. It's thrilling, it's action-packed, it's beautifully illustrated, and I hope you guys put some art on the screen. When
Oh,
you- when you go to
100%.
edit this. And I'll send you more if you need it.
Yes.
So,
Yes.
but yeah, and we're almost done. I just got up to page 90 in pencils. Colors are done up to 80. Lettering is done up to 30. We should be done and sending it to the printer 20th of February, 20. I
Now-
was talking to my printer yesterday via email. So.
Okay, are we looking at one issue or are we looking at multiple?
Oh, Dean and I want to keep doing this forever.
Oh,
This is a 114-page graphic novel.
Right.
And if you guys buy it and you support it and we make enough money, we'll just keep
You keep
making
doing it, keep
because we
doing it.
love this. We love
Yes.
this character. We love this concept. And since he's, you know, he's not CIA, he's not FBI, he's free to travel the globe and do
Mm-hmm.
anything. And we can indulge ourselves with all the James Bond stuff we
Yes,
like, all
I love
the
it.
Indiana Jones stuff we like. We can do any genre. It is realistic.
Mhm.
There's not really magic or sci-fi in this book, you know.
Gotcha.
But it's action-packed.
Yeah, I love it. I'm gonna tell you, it reminded me first when I first saw the cover, which I will put that up. It reminded me of that show Archer.
Okay.
Yeah, so that was the first thing that came to my mind, and then I was like, oh, okay, this is interesting. But then as you tell the story, and I read into it and kind of started looking to it, I was like, oh wow, this is gonna be a lot of fun. It does have that, you know, spy and kind of James Bond-esque kind of
Right.
vibe to it. It reminded me, man, I'm gonna tell you, James Bond for me has in that whole kind of genre,
Right.
that has kind of sticks out to me in my childhood and growing up and everything for a number of reasons, and none of them come from the movies really.
Really?
So when I was a kid, we used to go to the library, and there were 007 books that we pick up. Me and my brother would always pick up
You
from
got the original books from Ian Fleming.
I don't know. I don't have them anymore. We were checking them out at the
He's a British
library.
naval officer. And
Okay.
He wrote those books way back starting in the 50s.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
So we would pick up those books, and then there were also some almost like encyclopedia James Bond type books where they were just these big ones, and they would just have all the different weapons and the cars and all that kind of stuff, the models in there and everything. We thought that was so cool. I remember those books, and those were super cool. And then little sob story, whatever, not really. When I was 16 years old, I had 2 hip surgeries.
Oh, no.
And so I was bedridden for months.
Oh.
And so my dad had, my dad had previously maybe a year or two before or whatever. So growing up, we never had the newest, or we weren't into getting the newest, coolest systems and game consoles and all that kind of stuff. I think I was probably like 11 years old or so, getting my hands on a Super Nintendo. And the Super
What
Nintendo
year
was
is this?
old at that time.
Okay.
So this was like 2006 or something like that.
Oh.
And I'm getting my hands on a Super Nintendo for the first time. Like, it's been there, but we weren't into video games too much. We'd play little plug-in ones, play Asteroids on the TV, but that was about it.
Right,
We weren't into doing all of that. But my dad and my mom had the Super Nintendo, and they used to play that sometimes. And they pop it out every now and then, but they were always very busy. My dad's a pastor, and they've always been very, very busy people. And so then I remember, I never forget, one day we had this room, the one that I said we used to draw in. The TV used to sit on this entertainment center. And there's this cabinet, one of those ones where you push in and then the doors open.
It clicks out.
Yeah. And so one day we were playing around in there and we hit this door and it opens up and we see this, like, these games in there. And we're like, oh my gosh. And like, we didn't snoop through our parents' stuff. So we're like, oh my gosh. We're like, close it. But we never forgot what we saw. So it was, I think, another year or a few months, not quite a year, when my dad let us start playing the Super Nintendo. And then a few years later on, he gave us his GameCube. Now, this is where James Bond comes in. A lot of people talk about GoldenEye. That wasn't my game. That wasn't it. It is. I've played it now, and I'm like, this is great. But mine was 007 Agent Under Fire.
Oh, okay.
I can't tell you how many hours we put into that game, but I promise you, I'll beat anybody that put any hours into anything else.
Right.
Like and so when I was sitting there with the hip surgeries, and my brother would go off to school, my sister would go off to school, and my parents were working, it was like I was at home. Now I'm 16 years old, and we got the GameCube sitting there, and I'm playing 007 Agent Under Fire for hours while they're, because I can't do anything, can't go anywhere. In the missions and everything, had a ton of fun. And it was like, oh man, that was it. It always kind of resonates with me that story. And every time I see anything about James Bond, it just makes me think back into it. So that's why this book, I was like, shoot, man. Like, it kind of triggered that in me. It kind of gave me an instant attachment to this story. And I think it's going to do the same thing for so many people that are hungering for that type of media that's out there. Because you used to have those stories come out consistently.
Yeah, you'd have these male role models.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? Because James Bond, I think what we like about him most is his competency. Because as a man, that's what we're looking for.
Exactly.
I can do things when I need to.
Right.
James Bond can get out of trouble. He has gadgets. He can talk to women and get him to smooch him. He can defeat bad guys even when it's scary.
Right.
He can improvise something. He is a competent man.
He can do it all.
And, there's an old French saying about men and women. Men must do, women must be. And as men, we're doers of things in the world. Okay, we need water. Okay, I'll divert the water. We need a bridge. Okay, I'll make a bridge. We need this. And as men, we don't feel good about ourselves unless we do things.
Exactly.
Unless we accomplish or do something, we feel like we don't have value. We have to earn our value as men. I think heroic stories, that's why they're so aspirational.
Yeah.
You're a man, you have horrible challenges, and you overcome it, through bravery and, will and all that.
What you got to do.
And I think that's why we enjoy as men seeing that.
Yeah. So speaking of being a man, let's talk big man.
Okay.
Big Man Comics. What is your goal? So you've created this company. You got Truth, Justice, and the American Way, and then you got Dean Cain, All-American Lawman, coming out. What is Big Man Comics kind of looking at in the future? Like, what's your
I showed you the other one that we can't talk about.
Right. NDA. I got you. Right? Yes. Right? I was like, gave up to this whole stuff. I'm like, let's go.
And then I signed a contract with another one. It's a science fiction thing.
Okay.
It's not mine. I didn't write it, but I'm going to do the production on it.
Okay.
So my company offers that too. We'll make your comic book for you too if you want. It'll still have my logo on the front and all that. At least in this deal, it will. But we're doing that. Like it's kind of like a licensing thing or whatever.
Yeah.
So I'm doing that. But the point of my company is to do what Walt Disney did.
Okay.
You see what Disney's become. It's tragic.
Yeah.
But when Disney was making family entertainment that was joyful and loving and inspiring and teaching good morals, nobody did it better.
Yeah.
No one did it better. No one had more influence on the modern world and pop culture than Disney.
That's very true.
They didn't.
Yeah.
They told beautiful stories. and they told them with the highest level of skill.
Mm-hmm.
You told me you were reading this and you're almost not going to cry, but maybe there was dust in the air.
Yeah, maybe.
That page 47 of this book, that's what I want to do. I want to write it as good as possible and draw it and color it. And then I hire people now too. I'm in the position where I hire people to also draw for me and stuff like that. And I'll eventually have to hire writers because there's too many stories. But that's my point. I want to do what Eric's doing. Animation, movies, comics, all of it. I love comics. But I want to give everyone everything because I understand the power of story. In the Bible, Jesus spoke in parables, which are not true. They're stories.
Right.
And there's scientific research that shows that narrative, story, is the most effective way to persuade people.
Yeah.
And the point of my art is to persuade people, not to brainwash them and trick them, to persuade them that there's good, that you can be good, that you can succeed, that you don't have to despair, that God loves you. You don't have to give up. You can be the man that you dreamed of being, that you should be, that God and your family wants you to be. You can be him. It's hard, but you can. And that's what I want people to get from my art is you can be the man and woman and the citizen and the father and the brother. You can be what God wanted you to be, the plans for your life. When I see people who've given up on life, it's so tragic to me. People in the 30s, 40s, 50s, 60s, they never lived their dreams. They never tried. They never dared. They never did the right thing. You can see it on their face how upset and sad they are. And I don't judge them like, oh, you're a bad person.
Right.
My heart breaks for them. Because I told you earlier, I think about dying, not in a scary way, but in like, this is a miracle, this life. Don't waste it.
Right, exactly.
Don't waste it. Don't do that. Whether you fail or succeed, that's unimportant. Try.
Exactly.
And try every day. And that's it. Maybe you'll win, maybe you lose. I don't care. But you have to make a good faith effort every day.
And that's
because it's a miracle.
And that's so
what I
much.
want my work to do for people.
That's great because that's what so many people need, especially these days. They need the encouragement and inspiration to try. Because so many times we get people. I just had which you'll see one of the previous episodes. We had a retired Navy SEAL by the name of Javon Quarles on the show. He is a host on the show Special Forces.
Okay.
It's on Fox and Hulu and all that. But that show gets celebrities together and kind of puts them through this like these trainings and all that. Yeah, and it's very intense. And you watch people like these athletes and celebrities, actors, models, and all of these different people. And it's like they put themselves in and they get put in these positions where they have to push themselves. You have to look at yourself and be like, okay, like people always say, it's always the best way to grow is to become uncomfortable. And it's like, that's how you develop and see where your limits are. And that's where you go. And so then, but because of so much of the world that we live in these days kind of caters to people and makes them have to be put in comfortable positions, then it's like people lack that growth. So if you're telling stories that encourage people to try, to grow, it's what the world needs.
I want people to read my books and see what I saw when Indiana Jones had to step on the invisible rock bridge.
Yes.
I want them to see American Wade telling his dad, I'm not going to fight the bad guys. I'm just going to get you guys out of here. They're going to nuke the city. And the dad says, no. I'm staying here because I believe in you. You're my son. You're going to do this. And he tells his son, I believe in you, son.
Yeah.
And his son, the hero, snaps out of it like, I can't just take my parents and run off like a coward and let people die. I have to do this, win or lose. I have to try. And then, they end up saving the day. But I want people to feel that deeply within them that not only is it inspiring, it's true.
Yeah.
It is true what I'm saying. I'm speaking the truth.
Yes.
You can try. You can try and you can have victory in life.
I love it.
So.
All right. Well, Gabe, thank you for joining us today.
Yeah.
Tell the people where they can find you.
BigManComics.com. There's a reason. I got this hat custom made at Lids. It was not cheap, by the way.
Oh, gosh.
I got this hat custom made to wear on interviews. I wear it every time I go on TV.
Awesome.
I wear it a lot online. I'm wearing it here, obviously.
Yeah.
Go to Big Man Comics. Which camera do I look at? I guess it doesn't matter.
You can look in that one right there.
All right, guys, support me today. Go to BigManComics.com. Order all the Dean Cain copies you want. I will not stop you. There's no limit. Buy as many as you want. We've got awesome T-shirts. We've got all kinds of great things coming. Sign up for the newsletter, and we're going to entertain you. We're going to inspire you. You're going to get your money's worth, and you're going to feel good about doing it because, number one, you're being entertained. You're getting a great product. Number two, you're contributing and helping me build something great here. So please, BigManComics.com. You will not be disappointed. I will never let you guys down.
Awesome. Well, thank you, Gabe.
Thank you.
I appreciate you joining me today.
Yeah, it
I'm
was
looking
awesome.
forward to checking out Dean Cain, All-American Lawman, and every other project that comes from Big Man Comics.
Okay.
Ready?
Thank you.
You guys take it easy. And be sure to check out Icon Presents. You can get a link straight to Big Man Comics, the website, and everything that's going on. Check out the blog that'll be written up for Gabe and upcoming announcements right on that website. If you have any questions or anything like that, feel free to check it out. Y'all have a great day.